Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
where we dive into the unknown and the unusual,
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
So we have not one, but two more listener submissions, and we put them together because they're a little bit shorter than William's.
So again, thank you guys for sending in your stories. We appreciate it, and we are excited to tackle them.
Yeah, so how Tyler took the driver's wheel last time, I'm going to tell these stories. I don't have names, so we're not going to go named. We're just going to call them the author for these stories. But again, thank you so much for sending them in. Tyler, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
So let's just jump into it. I did edit this first story a little bit just because some grammatical stuff. I got super English teacher about it.
Are you just going to read it?
I'm going to read the first story, yeah, and then we're going to talk about it. That's how I had these setups. We're going to read them, and then we're going to talk about them.
Okay.
Good, let's do it up. It was August 2018, and the author had just turned 14. By his house is an abandoned building, which is called Paper Magic. And it used to make like cards, like birthday cards and stuff like that. But back in the 40s, the building was used to make World War II stuff, like vehicles. So anyway, it's early in the morning, and his older stepbrother takes himself and his younger stepbrother out to the building to go like exploring, spelunking, whatever, what have you. And it's around 8 in the morning, 8 a.m., which I don't touch that. And they're sneaking in. So they go in through a small opening. But all that was there was a huge room with a crane, old electronics, and buttons. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, buttons? Like buttons on boards and stuff.
Oh, okay. I was like, just like
shirt buttons.
No. Just every.
So they went to another area on the property, and they saw something called Saul tractor trailers, which I think is just like office trailers. It looks like there's an office inside of it now, like someone's using it as an office now. He didn't know why it was like that, but it gave him like goosebumps to see this office. So they left the property altogether. Later on that day, in the afternoon, they went back. It wasn't just him, it was his two other stepbrothers and a friend. And he gave names in the story, but I decided not to do names because they're all minors. I was like, let's not just incriminate a bunch of people. It wasn't like last names, but like I didn't want to do that.
So we're just going to use their social security numbers instead.
So this time they go back and they find a devil symbol, which I think he means like a pentagram, on the like spray painted on the ground. And they enter this area called the Dark Room, which I don't know who named it or why it's called the Dark Room.
It's like an office where it's got like the person's name, the manager's name. It's just like entering the dark room.
So they go through the set of stairs to get there, and they're going down the stairwell, and they see a shoe on the ground, which is, gross. And when he was about a foot away from it,
Come on.
Oh, when he was about a foot away from the shoe moved by itself. Like it moved backwards. So they obviously started to run up the stairs. But he was wearing sandals. And one of them fell off, which I would have said, goodbye to that sandal. He decided to go back and get it. And the shoe that had moved backwards was, at this point, gone. Like it vanished.
Ooh. It walked away.
His boots were made for walking. So when he had both sandals, he went back up the stairs. He ran up the stairs. And he turned around like midway because he felt like that feeling like he was being watched again. And there was a dark figure in the stairwell behind him. And they like looked at each other. And they made like eye contact as much as they could because it didn't have eyes. And then it disappeared. For some reason, our author decides to go back another time. Nothing, I guess, major really happened in that last series of events. But ever since he's been there a third time, weird stuff has been happening to him. Like doors closing at his house, and he said etc. So I don't know exactly what etc means. I don't know if there's like a ghost jumping on him every night going like woo, or like there's like someone talking in his ear.
There's a vast abyss of what etc could be.
I have no idea what etc means, but I know doors are closing by themselves. He said he hasn't gotten answers because who would tell him? Paper magic? I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of you, I promise. I don't know who you would expect to give you answers. Maybe like a psychic? I don't know. But he said anyway, the building was closed. and it got bought, and it's where they make hot tubs now. So we asked him where this takes place. He said it's in Dansville, Pennsylvania. He said also before they went to investigate this place, it had been like a hotbed for like KKK meetings and people who worship the devil, quote unquote. So let's break this down a little bit. So I have a couple theories. To me, what he's describing is a classic attachment. So because it sounds like that there's like maybe some kind of haunting there. It's an old property, and for some reason it attached to him. Maybe because, to quote from Haunted Hills Tours, it's a touring company that does like ghost tours. People, they want to know. For some reason, they are intrigued, attracted, or disliked. So people that get attached to exhibit some kind of behavior, like intriguing behavior to the ghost, or they're attracted to the ghost, or the ghost doesn't like them.
Right. Well, it seems like, based on his story, which, it's surface level on our part, it's just we only know what was given to us. It seems like potentially he was the most sensitive to the situation because he was the one that was feeling the sensation of being looked at or whatever, or a presence, and he's the one that felt the urge to look behind him.
Maybe because he went back for the sandal.
Like
it might be that simple.
Just lingering a little too long.
Exactly, yeah.
I think you're 100% right about the attachment. And, I mean, they weren't traditionally ghost hunting. They were literally just kids sneaking into a place. But, I mean, they say you have to say goodbye. Like, when you leave a premises, you have to. And, I mean, there's reportedly different ways to do it. I don't know if there's, like, a correct way. But you're supposed to have some sort of finality. This is the end. You cannot follow me. I'm saying goodbye. And that didn't happen.
Exactly. He didn't tell us it disconnected that way. And it feels like a ghost is looking for something warm to attach to, something to take energy and feed itself from something. So it picked him because he lingered, maybe. I think that's all that happened, because he lingered for that sandal, which, get another pair of sandals. How much is that? $10 maybe?
I mean, Old Navy, $1. They have it $1 sometimes.
There you go. Get a new sandal for $1.
Haunted for the rest of your life, $1 flip-flop. Now, I wonder if maybe the place was never actually haunted, but if there were KKK rallies there, that you said there's a pentagram on the ground, something, just because the actual location itself wasn't originally haunted, doesn't mean that other people couldn't have attracted dark spirits there, and it's just wrong place, wrong time. He wandered in and kind of got stuck with whatever somebody else summoned.
Now, a spirit or a ghost that was there before this, I don't know. I have no clue. I have no way of knowing. We have no way of knowing.
Right.
But if it was something that was like attached, I'd be a little worried. That maybe you're right. Maybe it came from these hate groups that were there. Although I find that a little...
The KKK, not as much, but the pentagram on the ground, I mean, that's something. Does this...
I don't know. That could just be kids messing around. I don't know. Every town has like devil worshipper stories. Like there's one by us. Like, I don't know. Unless you actually saw them there, I find that not hard to believe, but it could just be town rumors,
For sure. So here's the way. Are you ready to go into kind of like the idea of rating it?
Yeah, for sure.
So here's where I'm at. The shoe thing is a little strange. Seeing the shadow thing, like I believe in ghosts. So do I believe that he could have stumbled upon something and it is now attached to him? Yes. So even though there are aspects of it that I question, the simple fact of him going somewhere and attracting a dark energy and it's now following him around in his day-to-day life, I find that believable.
I just don't know how intense his personal haunting is. Maybe just because you said etc. Like, I just don't know what that means exactly. Like, does that mean like you're seeing full body apparitions or what?
Well, we have to take it, I guess, at face value. So based on the story, what do you think? Now, I'll let you do your rating, and then I have a suggestion that I wouldn't suggest, but I'm gonna suggest it.
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't know. Like, maybe doors shutting. Maybe there was an update to the AC system. I have no idea. So it's for me, it falls somewhere, because I do believe in attachments. I think that could happen, especially if you don't say goodbye.
That's a key fact that he didn't include that makes me believe that something is following him.
I do believe in experiences, but I don't know to the extent. But I don't necessarily believe the KKK and satanic groups meetings there. So I give it a viable just because of your believings.
So are you rating the extreme in which he's being haunted, or the fact that did, like, do you believe that he went there was something paranormal there, and it's now attached in his day-to-day life?
I believe that he went there, something caught his energy, and he didn't say goodbye, and now it's following him. I believe that there's an attachment there. So I believe 100%, I guess.
I didn't mean to change your opinion. I just felt like you were saying you were believable, but giving it a viable, and I was confused.
Just because I don't know the extent.
Right. But there's no way we can know the extent at all. Now, here's my suggestion that I wouldn't suggest, because clearly it's already affecting his life, but he's talking about wanting answers, and if I was reckless, I would go there and try and get an EVP.
Oh my God, that's a bad idea.
It's a terrible idea. It's an absolutely terrible idea, but it's probably...
Well, it got bought out by the hot dog company. He can't really do that.
Dude, every time you say that, I think you're saying hot dog company. Can I get a Chicago-style dog and an EVP? Why am I being haunted?
What I would recommend, not Tyler's, what I would recommend is to actually go to a psychic or a medium and to see if there's anything that can be learned that way.
Go to Zach at Ghost Adventures.
He's going to make a show about you. Don't do that. Unless you want that, I guess. I don't know.
The shoe was standing in the middle of the ground, and then it moved because it saw me, and everything revolves around me.
Bro, he is jacked. Okay, let's move on.
Next story.
So this author also did not give me a name. This episode takes place in Florida. In late 2017, our author was aware of how angry and easily aggravated he was, even though typically before this he was not like that. So himself naturally being a kind and giving spirit, so he wanted to change that as fast as he could. So he started to experiment with different ways to cast off the negative energy as quickly as possible, mostly through meditations, and quickly enough, he was starting to feel better. He was smiling more, he was laughing, he was just being like starting to feel good.
That's the story. Great story.
So this day, he said he remembers the exact day because it was Christmas Eve, and he was alone.
That's sad.
His mom, well, I mean, some people have different stuff, you know. His mom was out running late errands. Both of his sisters were visiting family, and the few friends he had, which were nearby, they were all celebrating. He particularly never celebrated Christmas due to his mother's religious beliefs, so he was always kind of left out of this day anyway. He was downstairs on the couch watching Beyond Skyline, which I don't know what that is, when he oddly felt the sensation of something staring at him, and he was thinking that it was just like something on the side of his vision going haywire. And he was going to look over at the stairs at the other end of the room where it's darker. He froze with panic and fear because part of himself was telling him not to look. So he was looking at the TV, and he looked at his peripheral vision, and he saw something standing there. And he made out a girl. Like, he didn't make out a girl.
He made out with the girl.
He saw there was a girl standing there. And he said it kind of looked like the girl from The Ring.
Oh, like Samara?
Grudge? Yeah, like Samara with, like, white eyes and white mouth. It was really...
Ugh.
Terrifying. It was terrifying. He said it reminded the witches of a game called Daylight, which I have not played. Sounds terrifying. Also had flowing dark hair. After seeing what was staring at him from the stairs, all he could do was sit there. He was expecting to be torn apart at any second, but all he did was sit there. For 2 hours, he finished the movie. And by the end of the movie, he realized the sensation of being stared at was gone. How could you stare? Oh my god!
You think he enjoyed the movie? How could you even?
I don't know.
He probably doesn't know one thing that happened in this movie.
In my notes, I put f***ing how. How could you get back into the movie? So it's like 2 a.m. now. Movie's over. He left. He left the house at 2 a.m.
His mom was still running errands at 2 a.m.?
I mean, she didn't come home. No one came home, which is really strange. So later on, it's like 2018 now, so it's been like a year. This same girl pops up in his dreams. Only he finds out her name is Elisa, and instead of like stalking him, they're having a good time. They're like chasing each other. They're having fun. They're honestly, they're in a good relationship right now. They're playing Spider-Man and Black Cat. It's like
they're playing Spider-Man and Black Cat.
Yeah, the two Marvel characters, dude.
Okay.
Get with the times. So like for a couple of weeks, he's having this dream scenario with this girl, and he's like building this like relationship, and they're having fun. Like sometimes like she's running past and giggling, and then she's wearing tight black clothes, and it's turning into something a little more than just a dream about a scary girl, I think. And then it's not the scary girl that he saw the first time. It becomes something more pleasant. And after like about a month of these dreams, it stops.
Wow. He got broke up in Dreamland. That's rough.
That is rough. But like a bad ex, she came back. In 2019, this was his last experience so far. It's around 1 a.m. and his friend and himself, they decide to go to a park. And it's an empty park at 1 in the morning. I think that's not a great idea to go to the park that late, but that's just, I'm a nerd. So they go to the swings and they're sitting there and they're talking and they're having a good time. However, he says, I think I hear a girl talking. And then there's like another voice and they're talking and his friend says, stop. Do you hear that? And his friend bolts. He follows him. They're both running out of this park as fast as they can. They get home, and his friend goes, didn't you hear that little girl talking? So that confirmation for me, that's what really does it. And all he could think about was his friend Lisa.
And did they see anybody by the swings, or they just heard a girl?
They did see a shadow figure by the swings.
Okay.
So it wasn't just vocal. It was also a visual.
Ooh, man.
So I asked him, I was like,
is this true or?
I said, that kind of came out of nowhere. And he's like, I'm sure, by the way, I took that energy off of me. It had something to do with it. The last day he was angry, it just like switched. And like he was himself again.
Are there any creatures or cryptids or myths that can affect you or are known for changing emotions?
That's very funny. Yes. Let's get into the breakdown of this a little bit, because that's basically the end of the story. The author thinks that Lisa might be a tulpa, because he was listening to our Slenderman episode, and he said he thinks that Lisa is a tulpa, and I actually don't think Lisa is a tulpa. I think Lisa's a spirit. A tulpa is something that's you're focusing on for a long time. That's something you're willing into existence. I don't think he willed Lisa into existence. I think Lisa existed before he knew it.
So I see. He thinks that his negative energy created Lisa, where you're saying that Lisa might have been putting that negative energy into him.
Exactly. I think that's exactly what happened. And so I think that there might be something like a poltergeist activity. Mostly it affects girls going through puberty, but it also is known to affect men. Not as commonly, but I think a poltergeist entity is something closer to what this is than a tulpa.
What makes a poltergeist different than just a normal spirit?
Poltergeist attaches to the energy being output by youth, typically. A lot of poltergeist stories focus around young children maturing.
Okay.
This comes from theconversation.com. Some people believe that emotional stress can cause activity. So, the emotional stress of growing up into puberty causes this kind of poltergeist activity.
Gotcha. And do we know how old he was in 2017?
Arthur was 17 in 2017.
Because going from seeing her as a terrifying person to then dreaming about her and they're having a good time, there is, I don't want to say a maturing aspect in that, but there's definitely a relation dynamic that's taking place there. I don't know. Puberty is a physical dynamic, and there is something. I'm trying to make a connection that not quite there, but between seeing her for the first time and then how he's depicting her in his dreams, there's some type of change that happens.
I don't think that a poltergeist is the only explanation for this, though. Do you mind if I go through them really quick?
Let's do it.
I hate to say it. I absolutely hate to say it. I think it could be demonic. Now, it hasn't gotten worse. Hopefully, he hasn't told me it's gotten worse in 2019. The last thing he told me was that last story. But because of how it's, attaching to him and not the area, that's typically how demons do their thing. They attach to people, not houses.
And it's negative energy, infiltrating his psyche, his dreams, and following him to different locations, like you were alluding to with...
As soon as he gets rid of that negative energy, what happens? He sees this thing. It doesn't like the rejection. I give myself chills. I think no matter what, I don't think this energy is something that's good. It's not something for him. I don't think it's a tulpa. It's not something that the author thought of. It's something that it's hard to nail down, and I don't think it's a good presence to have in your life. Even if you had that good dreams with it, you need to tell it to go away.
Oh, it would be interesting to look up demonic activity and the name Lisa.
I'm not doing it.
I'm just saying in general. But also, I've read that demons will, not that Lisa seems like a child. She seems maybe like a younger teenage girl. but like they, will often appear as children to kind of be unsuspecting, to gain that trust.
Yeah, so I'm scared for our author that it might be something more malevolent than a poltergeist. I give it 100% believable.
So you're 100% believable.
Oh yeah, I believe it's something.
But not Tulpa. You're 100% believable on demonic activity.
It's either a demon or a poltergeist.
Now, the peripheral is tough because I've actually read that you see better in your peripheral than you do looking straight ahead. And I wish I could remember. Like it was like seeing, like looking at the stars or something. It's like how the stars can be more vibrant from your peripheral than if you look at them. So there is like research out there that talks about like what you see in your peripheral and how it can affect you and how it might be even more powerful than what you're directly looking at. But there is a little bit of skepticism with that. And the dream is obviously, if it's not put on him by a demon, it's something he's creating himself. So the peripheral could be something he imagined, and the dream is something he absolutely imagined. But the park thing is interesting. What are the chances that it was a real girl there?
I feel like it's low, but it's not zero. So
I feel like I can't say. I would feel guilty if I said it was on the lower end, and this guy really is dealing with like demonic activity, and like if we're like, it's nothing, bro, don't worry about it, and then his life goes to hell. And
I for sure want an update on this. Yeah,
just because the peripheral could be something he imagined and didn't really see, and the dream is something in his own mind. I'm gonna lean viable because the chances of a little girl being at the park, it just fits his narrative too well.
Absolutely.
And the shadow figure. So I definitely do think that there could be something really eerie and potentially demonic, as you were saying, happening here. And I agree. Keep us updated on this story, and we'll do an update episode if that's the case. I don't think I can lean full believable just because of some of the earlier aspects of the story. But so I think I'm going to say viable.
I think that's totally fair, dude.
With an update required. Actually, I hope there is no update. I hope it is gone entirely for him if it is, really happening to him.
Man, either way, if you believe it or not, you got to get rid of this thing. I think you just need to tell it to off.
Demons are different, though, than ghosts. I don't think you can just say goodbye, like we're done here.
Well, I don't know. But I know this. I hope to hear back. But thank you from our two authors that submitted. I hope to update us on the one story. I hope we can get some answers for our first author, too. I appreciate both of you submitting. I hope this was fun for everybody involved.
That's right. Hopefully nothing too serious happens in either stories after this. No updates is an okay thing. If you guys want your stories told on Believing the Bizarre, hit us up at believingthebizarre@gmail.com. But until then, I am Tyler.
I am Charlie.
And until then, join us on our next episode of Believing the Bizarre.